Welcome to the Chaos Sector. We've returned to the Matrix. It's odd how people change with the flip of a switch. Just like in the Matrix. Does anyone remember the park fight scene with the woman carrying groceries? She's walking along, and then all of a sudden spots Neo, glitches up, and bam, reveals her true identity. And that, of course, was an agent. Oh, I don't like this about the chaos. I don't like that about the chaos. Let's cut straight to the chase. Oh, you're 100% wrong about the Korean Reed trial. You clearly didn't research. You clearly didn't investigate. Well, you all are 100% right about that. But, we did ask the questions. Didn't we ask everyone if there was evidence that O'Keefe's peers had any grudges toward him to beat him at that party and then dump his body onto the road? I think we did ask that question. In all of the articles, all of the information in police reports, there was no mention of O'Keefe being directly associated with anyone at that party. Might be wrong, but we presented enough information to come to that conclusion. If there was any association, especially any problems he had with anyone, or several officers who attended that party, the defense would have evidence somewhere. Now, some rebutted, oh, they're going to stick together, law enforcement and the district attorney all protected the, quote, goons who committed the crime. Yes, this type of corruption does happen. But again, that physical altercation conflicts with Reed's own statements. You see, this is the problem. We're going off of what she stated. What Reed stated in her interview, a part of the documentary, was that she may have clipped O'Keefe's knee and that she may have run over his foot. O'Keefe may have passed out afterwards, or he may have struggled to recover, and he may have tried to care for himself. I mean, everyone heard that audio, right? We're not pulling that out of a rabbit hat. Now, didn't we explain that Reed wouldn't give this merit if she hadn't come in physical contact with O'Keefe that night? But the forensics, yes, the physical evidence proved that her vehicle came in contact with O'Keefe that night. Okay, this is where we evaluated. We broke down the scenario where it could have been an accident or if it was intentional. In the scenario where it was an accident, this aligns with the narrative that she wasn't aware that she hit him, and it was only in retrospect that she acknowledged this, like in the interview, right? Okay, so far, so good. In that scenario, though, she goes on to explain how that accidental incident led to O'Keefe possibly passing out and being discovered deceased in the blizzard. This is very important because you dropped him off, or let me rephrase that. You both were going to. Wait, can we clarify what was the actual setting here? Since some claim the chaos is supporting the state's reports that basically create a setting where Reed wasn't interested in going to the party, does anyone know if she intended on attending the party? This is important. Leave a comment providing details about Reed's, that's right, Reed's decisions that night. I tell you what, can we use court TV as a reference? You want us to investigate the, quote, proper way?
I think it doesn't matter at this point. Those individuals are more concerned about criticizing the chaos rather than anything broken down in the previous episode. But to be fair, let's try to satisfy their standards of what an investigator should look like. Timeline of events in the Karen Reed murder case. Okay, starting in 2021, December 31st, O'Keefe and Reed fight during a trip to Aruba with friends. The presiding judge will decide during the trial whether to let the jury hear about the fight as character evidence. Well, character is important if the prosecution is claiming Reed wanted to murder her boyfriend, right? It should be admissible in court if there is evidence of a malicious character. Anywho, January 28th of 2022, 7:30 p.m., Nicole Albert arrives at Waterfall Bar and Grill to meet relatives for dinner. 9 p.m., Jennifer and Matt McCabe arrive at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Reed meets O'Keefe at C.F. McCarthy in downtown Canton. 10 p.m., Brian Albert arrives at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. 10:54 p.m., Reed and O'Keefe arrive at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. So far, so good, right? Is this accurate? I mean, it's what Court TV has presented as the timeline of events. Surely it's coming from the same evidence the court has. That's the thing. We can't truly give merit to the information, even if it is reported as evidence, because the Idaho 4 presented the same type of timeline of events and information. And we all know that was bogus. Yep, you have to be unplugged in the matrix to see beyond the reality presented to you. You might understand one day. Hopefully, we're helping.
On January 29th, 12 a.m., the Waterfall Bar and Grill closes. The Alberts invite everyone to their house on Fairview Road. 12:14 a.m., Jennifer McCabe calls John O'Keefe to give him directions to the Albert home. 12:15 a.m., Jennifer and Matthew McCabe and Ryan Nagel say they see Reed's car outside the home. 12:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe texts O'Keefe, "Here?" 12:29 a.m., O'Keefe answers a call from Jennifer McCabe. 12:30 a.m., witnesses say Colin Albert leaves the Albert residence. 12:31 a.m., Jennifer McCabe texts O'Keefe, "Pull behind me." 12:40 a.m., Jennifer McCabe texts O'Keefe, "Hello." 12:42 a.m., Jennifer McCabe texts O'Keefe, "Where are you?" 12:45 a.m., Jennifer McCabe texts O'Keefe, "Hello." 1:30 a.m., the McCabes leave the Albert residence with Julie Nagel and another friend of Brian Albert Jr. and drop off the women home before returning to their home. Between 1:30 a.m. and 2 a.m., according to testimony, Caitlin Albert leaves the Albert home for the night. 2:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe used her phone to Google "how long to die in cold," according to the defense. Now, is this accurate based on the police reports and information presented in trial? To all those who claimed we are completely wrong, unprofessional, and, quote, way behind in that case, is all this information credible to you all? Do you agree? Or did you adhere to this information in relation to what you concluded about the case? If so, then there is key evidence in this timeline of events. Hint, it's a text message. But let's continue with the rest of the timeline.
4:53 a.m. Reed calls Jennifer McCabe using O'Keefe's niece's phone looking for O'Keefe. Reed also calls O'Keefe's friend, Carrie Roberts. 5 a.m. Julie Albert told investigators she missed a call from Jennifer McCabe at this time, but that it was through the call she learned that O'Keefe was dead. She later told a grand jury she learned he was dead. 5:07 a.m. O'Keefe's driveway camera shows Reed's car backing out of the driveway. Reed meets Jennifer McCabe and Roberts at McCabe's house. Roberts drives Reed and Jennifer McCabe to the Albert residence. 6 a.m. Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Roberts arrive at the Albert residence. 6:04 a.m. Reed calls 911. Canton police officers Seraph and Mulaney arrive within minutes, followed by emergency services. 6:07 a.m. Jennifer McCabe calls Nicole Albert twice. 6:23 a.m. Jennifer McCabe calls Brian Albert. Jennifer McCabe used her phone to search Google for "how long to die in the cold," according to state police and the Commonwealth. Now, let's stop right here. See, the chaos is wired differently, and it seems that wiring confuses some out there. Out of all of this information, we highlight 6:23 a.m. when Jennifer is reported to search Google about hypothermia. The defense claims that Jennifer searched this around 2 a.m., indicating that she was involved in O'Keefe's death. Quote, "Last April, in a motion seeking access to Albert's phone records, Reed's attorney said records from McCabe's phone showed she had searched the phrase, 'how long to die in cold' on Google hours before 911 was called to report O'Keefe was found in the snow." Reed's attorneys say the records showed the search was made around 2:30 a.m., but prosecutors have disputed the timing, arguing McCabe made the search after O'Keefe was found unresponsive. It's been a major point of contention in the trial. Maintaining that the search was made earlier, defense attorneys Alan Jackson and David Yannetti said in a statement last year that the evidence establishes other people were aware that John was dying in the snow before Karen even knew he was missing. Now, this apparently is a mystery, because if the defense has the evidence that Jennifer searched for this around 2:30 a.m., then this, of course, indicates that she was aware he was physically outside the home, unconscious in the cold. If they had this evidence, then shouldn't she have been deemed a suspect? The same judge and jury ruled Karen Reed innocent of any charges, so with the defense's alleged evidence that Jennifer was aware O'Keefe was, you see, it's a good thing we didn't investigate this case, because we'd be even more aggravated than in the Koberger.
Now, either she searched at 2:30 a.m. or she searched at 6:23 a.m. At 2:30 a.m., this means she's a suspect or had knowledge of the death, which aligns with O'Keefe being beaten at the party. If it was a search at 6:23 a.m., then it would appear they discovered O'Keefe later that morning, and Jennifer wondered how long he had been unconscious and finally passed away. The interesting thing is the defense's claim of a search around 2:30 a.m. There is over 2 hours of no communication, no information about any inquiry about where O'Keefe was. Then the next communication, or inquiry, was from none other than Reed. She calls Jennifer and another mutual friend, but she called from O'Keefe's niece's phone. And then we have to factor in the text messages, as my colleague pointed out. At 12:27 a.m., Jennifer texts O'Keefe stating, quote, "Here." So at this point, Jennifer is asking if O'Keefe had made it to the residence. He responds to a call from her at 12:29 a.m. Now from 12:30 a.m. to 12:45 a.m., O'Keefe never responded to any of the texts from Jennifer. This is approximately 15 minutes of unknown activity. In addition, the timeline of events state that the McCabe's leave the Albert residence with Julie Nagel and another friend of Brian Albert Jr. and drop off the women home before returning to their home. So if Jennifer headed home around 1:30 a.m., then how could she be searching Google for how long before someone died in the cold at 2:30 a.m.? Unless she had returned, right? Or someone confessed to her that they had, quote, clipped O'Keefe, and he may have passed out outside in the cold. We're just weeding it out. This is what you guys wanted, so that's what we're doing, officially investigating. Why didn't Reed call from her phone? Well, maybe those phone records would include the, quote, confession of hitting O'Keefe, in which she told Jennifer about. And of course, Jennifer stated, which was also acknowledged by the judge, that Reed admitted or asked, "Did I hit him?"
Quote, "Firefighters who responded to the scene that morning testified that Ms. Reed told them, 'I hit him, I hit him.' Ms. Reed has said that she asked, in a state of panic and shock, 'Did I hit him?' Now, see, this is the problem. Let's go from the point she called Jennifer searching for O'Keefe. Arrive at the home and discover him deceased outside the home. She then asks, 'Did I hit him?' Why would Reed assume she hit him prior to the forensics proving that her vehicle had O'Keefe's DNA on the tail light?" You see, let's walk through this slowly so everyone can grasp the fuckery. Firefighters testified, stating that Reed confessed to hitting O'Keefe that night. Reed, though, asked in retrospect, in a state of panic and shock, did she hit him that night? But the key would be, how is acknowledging hitting O'Keefe before the evidence was discovered that her vehicle made contact with O'Keefe? In other words, upon discovery, even in this so-called panic and shock, Reed would be fully aware of hitting O'Keefe that night, and out of that same fucking panic and shock, confessed to it. Then this was transformed into a, quote, fuzzy memory of what could have happened in her little interview, a part of the documentary. The defense argued that O'Keefe went inside the house, was killed during a fight, and that his body was brought outside and dumped in the snow. A federal agent, Brian Higgins, was also in the house at 34 Fairview Road, and the trial heard that he and Ms. Reed had exchanged flirtatious texts and a physical kiss. One more time so you're not falling behind. Reed would not mention anything about hitting O'Keefe upon discovery, especially when you factor in the time that had passed since she dropped him off. Wasn't she intoxicated? Oh, that's being used as a key element. But upon discovery, later that morning, oh, she remembers possibly hitting O'Keefe. Didn't seem to have any problems in remembering that action. It's because it was full of rage, an emotion that can't be forgotten no matter how plastered you were. Emotions are one of the strongest memories you have, more so than actual information. And this is why she immediately mentioned hitting O'Keefe, but of course tried to make it appear it was an accident. Yet even being an accident, she's still in hot water. If we take this acknowledgement of hitting O'Keefe and combine it with her interview, we have someone who not only hit O'Keefe, but watched him collapse, falls unconscious, and then drives off. Doesn't call Jennifer at this point, oh no. And you see, there's another suspicious element. Why didn't Reed call Jennifer about this incident to help get O'Keefe into the home and seek medical attention? Let me guess. She didn't want to help him. That's why she didn't call Jennifer and proceeded to leave him there, driving off in a rage. And once again, this changes the activity upon arriving at the home. Partygoers claim O'Keefe never, I repeat, never made it to the party. And this is supported by Jennifer's text to O'Keefe, in which he never responded. He never made it to the party because after the mad woman ran him over with her vehicle, he was unconscious on the ground and had passed away due to hypothermia. Then Reed waits it out, calls Jennifer from O'Keefe's niece's phone for some odd reason, inquiring about where O'Keefe was. She then calls 911, pretending to care for her beloved boyfriend. Now, to all of those claiming we have no clue about the case, can you rebuttal any of this analysis based on the evidence and information the case provided? Don't worry, we'll wait.
Enough waiting. Here's the thing. Everything alleged about the police department is not supporting evidence of the claim he was basically murdered by those officers at the party. And the problem with that claim by the defense is it literally contradicts their own client's accounts. Insanity. The alleged dog bite marks was never identified as dog bite marks, regardless of what it appears to be. Did forensics report that DNA from the dog at the home was found on O'Keefe's skin? Did they report that the marks were in fact dog bite marks? Since you guys followed the case and have all of the details, was there any report that confirmed there were dog bite marks on O'Keefe? Well, we never dug that deep, and we can tell you right now, no, they never reported those were dog bite marks. All of the other injuries could have come from being run over by the vehicle. Fractured skull? Yep, could have come from being run over. Lacerations to the back of his head? Could have come from being run over. Abrasions on his nose and arms? Could have come from being run over. A scratch on his right knee? Could have come from being run over. Swollen eyelids is a symptom of hypothermia, but what about black eyes? Well, it doesn't directly cause black rings around the eyes, but it could give the appearance of black eyes. Hypothermia does not directly cause black rings around the eyes, but it can lead to other health issues that may contribute to darkening of the skin around the eyes. Factors such as aging, genetics, lack of sleep, and allergies are more commonly associated with dark circles under the eyes. While hypothermia itself is not a cause, it can result in conditions that may exacerbate the appearance of dark circles. So what could appear to be black eyes that indicated O'Keefe had been assaulted could be from the symptoms of hypothermia. I know some are still being quite stubborn and believing that officers committed this crime, but we've tried to point out that it doesn't add up. There isn't a motive established, no previous information about O'Keefe having issues with his colleagues, but there is evidence that he had problems with his girlfriend. Yep, if she leaves voicemails yelling, "I fucking hate you," and showing signs of jealousy and paranoia regarding their relationship, might want to keep an eye on her mental and emotional state, because one wrong move and she's running you over with her vehicle. There isn't physical proof that he attended the party to even be assaulted, then dumped out into the street, left to die. Mind you, the last communication from O'Keefe, being the last time he was known to be alive, was when he responded to a call from Jennifer. After that call, O'Keefe was never heard from again. But there is physical proof that Reed's vehicle came in contact with O'Keefe that night, and she acknowledged hitting him prior to any investigation had taken place. Again, this is key evidence that provides a trail to the truth. If Reed had, well, however you want to phrase it, she admitted, she confessed, she questioned if she may have, none of those descriptions matter because it's something she is addressing prior to the investigation. So this means, come on, people.
The last person with O'Keefe was Reed. It wasn't Jennifer McCabe. It wasn't any other person at the party. If O'Keefe arrives at a party with this specific person contacted by one of the partygoers discussing directions and such, then all of a sudden there isn't any responding communication to their text messages. The last person he was with is centered around this unknown silence. Because if he had physically attended the party, everything would be normal. Hey, John, where are you guys now? Oh, we're pulling up to the party. Oh, okay, you guys hungry? We got pizza. Cool, we're on our way. Okay, see you inside. He would have gone to, wait, so we still haven't clarified if Reed was going to the party as well. Because if individuals who criticize our analysis are saying we can't go by what the state is claiming, then what do we make of this? The report claims, wait, let's go back over it for clarification. Quote, Reed told police she dropped O'Keefe off at the house shortly after midnight and went home because she was having stomach issues. Unquote. In this scenario, she wasn't planning on going to the party, just wanted to drop O'Keefe off. But there's conflicting accounts of that specific setting. Quote, Reed drove O'Keefe to Fairview, although she wasn't... Never mind the filler, let's get to the meat of it. Reed and O'Keefe pulled up in front of the house at 12:24 a.m., but remained in the car as Reed felt uncomfortable going inside. Now, if it didn't add the phrase going inside, this could be associated with having, quote, stomach issues. But it says she didn't feel comfortable going inside, which indicated she felt unsure about the party and the environment itself. And this is exactly the setting painted as it goes on to say that O'Keefe told her he would quickly check inside to ensure they were welcomed. Where is this paranoia coming from with Reed? Anywho, this would be an account of her feeling unsure about that environment, which contradicts the claim she dropped O'Keefe off and went home due to an upset stomach. There wouldn't be a concern about the environment and feeling uncomfortable of going inside because Reed was dropping O'Keefe off due to having an upset stomach. Then there's more. Quote, O'Keefe started walking to the house at 12:31 a.m. Reed claimed she watched him enter the house. Wait, now someone is lying because the partygoers claimed O'Keefe never came to the party. Hold that thought. It goes on to say McCabe did not send another text message to O'Keefe for 9 minutes. At 12:40 a.m., she sent O'Keefe a text saying, hello. And this is where the 15 minutes of silence came about. From 12:30 a.m. to around 12:45 a.m., there was no response from O'Keefe. But based on Reed's accounts here, O'Keefe is at the party, right? Why didn't he text McCabe saying, hey, I'm here, where are you? Nevertheless, then we have another setting during this time frame. Quote, Reed grew impatient when O'Keefe did not come back out and started driving off towards his house. After arriving at the home, she left him a succession of voicemails expressing that she felt he was using her as a babysitter while he partied and drank. Her last call attempt was at 1:18 a.m. before falling asleep next to his niece. And it goes on to explain the so-called search for O'Keefe. We're bypassing that part. We're focused on the inconsistencies of what Reed's intention were regarding the party. You see, did she just drop O'Keefe off because she had an upset stomach? Was she intending on attending the party but didn't feel comfortable? And did she grow impatient after O'Keefe didn't come back out to let her know if everything was cool? Why didn't she ask McCabe if everything was cool? Some claim that McCabe was not a friend of Reed's. Well, she surely called her looking for O'Keefe, meaning she had her phone number. But the point here is, with different accounts of Reed's intentions that night regarding attending the party, there is suspicion about if she even intended on attending the party.
It doesn't take much to conclude what happened. Reed's own acknowledgement of hitting O'Keefe proves everything. It would be totally different if she did in fact drop him off. She didn't want to attend because of an upset stomach, and later was informed he was found deceased near the home. No physical evidence he was, quote, clipped by her vehicle, no interview trying to rationalize how and why it happened. She would be deemed innocent. Heck, she wouldn't be brought up on charges in the first place, you see? That physical incident was the pivotal link between Reed and O'Keefe's physical condition. She even stated he may have passed out after, I repeat, after she so-called clipped his knee or ran over his foot. In this scenario, which is from her own words, how can she also watch O'Keefe enter the home? Money helped her get away with murder, along with some element of, quote, women empowerment. Yeah, that was also an influence. Found it strange that Kohberger didn't get the same support. When it was clear that he was framed for those murders, one case has a man convicted, clearly was framed, while the other case has a woman found innocent and claimed that she was being framed. And in that case, she admits to hitting O'Keefe. The mainstream media, I guess, well, it didn't matter. I wonder what old hag Nancy Grace had to say about it. Oh, look at that. She's given it the benefit of the doubt that Karen Reed had been framed. Didn't give Kohberger that same benefit of the doubt with obvious evidence of other suspects involved? Wow. What about Ashley Batfeld? Well, look how excited she is in the ruling of Reed's trial. In fact, if you go to this specific video of her covering the trial's verdict, she is so eager to call Reed a winner. Why so excited about her being found not guilty? Do you know her personally? Do you think she was being railroaded? You think she was being framed? Because the evidence shows that she murdered her boyfriend, and you know this. Yet you're excited that she got away with it? Disgusting. But, as we pointed out, if Reed was found not guilty, then who was responsible for his death? You have to conclude the setting. Either he attended the party, which would mean he was beaten and dumped outside, or he never attended the party, which leaves the last person he was with. Will they investigate his death post Karen Reed? Yeah, likely it will fade off into the background, making room for another psychological operation. We were in the Matrix this whole time. Hope you didn't forget. This is the Chaos Sector.